It looks like it is connecting.
Okay. Excellent. No problem. I am here with you. So we're going on your personal page, right? Not your business page?
Yeah, because I'm still promoting my public page.
There we go. It says live on Facebook. There it is. I see it. There we are. We're live.
Yes. Hey,
hello, everybody.
Everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Everyone. Thank you so much for checking us out. This is the third episode of my newly launched Facebook Live series. And the show is titled Classroom Without Walls, Using Technology to Reimagine Education, where I interview leading professors, professionals, and leaders in terms of how they use technology, how they use social media to transform their classroom, to transform their teaching and learning practices in the classroom. And today is our third episode, and I'm so honored to invite Professor Nez to join us. And many of you probably already follow him. If not, definitely follow him now because he's truly amazing. Professor Nez is a writing professor, is a career coach, is a consultant, is a business strategist and a business coach, and it's an amazing. This is what I love the most about him. He's an amazing storyteller. I appreciate and admire his ability to create stories and to share stories and to offer value to all of us. And his students love him, and people like our social friends, we love him. So today he's going to share with us about how he uses social media, especially live streaming tools and apps to engage students and to enhance students' learning experience. Is there anything I missed, Professor Nez? Please feel free to share.
I'm also, I can leap tall buildings. I can stop a silver bullet. I can ride rainbows. No, I'm kidding. That was amazing. That was one of the best introductions I think I've ever had in my life. So I love your energy. And by the way, congratulations. I think we should all give it up for becoming one of the top social media writers on Medium, I love Medium, this huge social media blog site that I've been trying to get my students involved in. We can talk about that soon. Congratulations to you, Ai Zhang. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So proud of you.
I appreciate it. It's so funny you mentioned that because I have just started blogging maybe a month and a half ago.
Wow.
And, just like doing things consistently as you show. I admire how much content you are producing on Facebook, doing the live show, providing value, and doing everything consistently. That's how you see feedback. Yes.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. So I'm so proud of you, and I just feel really honored. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to talk to you. This is a subject that's so dear to my heart. So yeah, thank you so much. Of
course. Yeah, just some basic information. Maybe you can share with us how long have you been a professor and what are some courses you teach. And if you are here, by the way, give us some hearts. Please share and like, and so that we know that you are enjoying this. And thank you for sharing. Yes. So tell us more about your teaching career.
Oh, absolutely. So I started teaching about 15, 12 years ago, maybe give or take. And it was funny. I wonder if maybe you could relate to this. I never really kind of wanted to even go into teaching. This wasn't even something that I was, it wasn't something that I planned. It wasn't something that, funny thing about life has a way of kind of always placing you where you need to be rather than, it's just a funky little ride, isn't it? This thing called life. I wanted to be Ernest Hemingway. I wanted to sit by the ocean, write my novels, drink my vodka sodas and just have the world love my stories. Right. And as a young man, it was very romanticized. And so, after I helped my mom start her kind of leather manufacturing business, I decided to go full head into writing, and it didn't really pan out. I didn't become the next Ernest Hemingway. So as I was getting older, I needed to supplement my income. And as I'm sure you're very well aware, we got a lot of people coming in. Hey, Didar.
Yeah,
hey,
everyone.
David.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, all of our friends are here.
So as I needed to supplement my income, I went into teaching. And here's what's really interesting. Now, of course, I have to sneeze. We're live.
That's the best part of going live. Yes.
Excuse me. So I know I haven't sneezed all day. And then all of a sudden, as soon as we go live, I have to sneeze. But it was funny. Like once I started getting in front of my students and think about it. Every time we go to school, every time we go to work, we're giving a public presentation. Every single time we go to class, right? We're basically giving a public presentation, something that most people fear every single time that it even gets mentioned, right? More people would rather die than get up in front of people and talk. And so I definitely felt that anxiety and I felt that trepidation. I know that might be hard to believe now, but in my young career, when I was a young 27, 28-year-old teaching, I started to discover that I loved it, and I started to become possessed, and I had no control over what was coming out of my mouth. I was moved. I was inspired to talk about the things that mattered to me, and I was lucky enough that it resonated with my students. Of course, I had curriculum, and I had lesson plan, and I had all this stuff. But anyway, long story short, sorry for monopolizing this, but long story short, teaching chose me. It really chose me. It was nothing that I chose. It really chose me. And thank God it did, because I discovered that type of medium, that type of platform, if you will, since we're kind of paralleling talking about social media, it was perfect for me. Hello, Didar. Hello, David. Wow.
So many. Hey, Jason. So many people join us.
Yeah. This is awesome. I shared it out.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's a great background. And so if you can share with us, I know like one reason I remember watching your stories on Snapchat and Facebook Live. Can you please share with us what are some specific tools or apps that you use to engage your students and to enhance your teaching and classroom learning?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's like, to me, social media, and I've said this before, I think Snapchat is kind of like 21st century storytelling. And I've used to tell my students this all the time because I knew that's where they were communicating. That's where they were interacting. That's where the real world was happening. So I remember it clicking in my head. And this is before Instagram, kind of took their sort of UI and kind of, I don't want to say stole, but I mean, yeah, they basically stole their interface. And their features, and eventually so did Facebook. And then now I think everybody's going to have a story. I think Twitter Stories is probably going to come out soon, God knows. But before all these other social media sites started taking that, I noticed that, most of my students were on Snapchat, and this was something that I was using to kind of get my sort of message out there and what I love to do, which was inspire and share and talk about mindsets and communications. And I felt it actually necessary to merge the two. So I started actually making assignments geared around Snapchat. As a matter of fact, one of my speech classes, I hope to God my dean's not watching, but one of my speech classes, for one of the assignments, I said, do a 3-minute snap story of a presentation and then tag me in it, send it to me. And I couldn't believe it. My students it was the most excited I've ever seen my students. Mm-hmm. It was the most excited I ever, I couldn't even imagine their passion and their enthusiasm. They were so pumped to do something like that. And again, this was back when Snapchat was really late 2015, early 2016, when Snapchat was just on fire, right? I mean, I still love Snapchat, but I have to be honest, I'm using Instagram a lot more now, even though I'm seeing a lot of my audience is moving over to Instagram. And I mean, not to get into the sort of topsy-turvy way of that goes, that's just how tech business goes sometimes. And they've done a lot of things. Obviously, they put a lot of things in place to kind of accrue Snapchat's audience. But back when Snapchat was like the reddest, hottest app on the planet, I was using a lot of Snapchat with my class and integrating that, and I could not have received a better response. I mean, my students were extremely excited, and I was excited. And they were interested in communication. They were interested in creating stories. They were interested in communicating to their specific target audience, picking a topic that really resonated with them and introducing it that grabbed their audience's attention. It was amazing. And now that I have my live show on Facebook and I'm doing a lot more with YouTube, I'm focusing on YouTube a lot lately. I'm noticing that the type of content that I produce is really resonating even more to a larger audience as well as my students. But the word is sort of spreading, and you know, to me, I don't really care about followers. I don't really care about subscribers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be false here and say I don't want everybody on the planet to watch my content. Of course I do. But to me, it's more important. And I think maybe this is something I'm learning in the last couple of months. It's really important to nurture who you have. It's really important to pay attention to the people that are actually consuming you and engaging with your content. And it's really important to enjoy the journey, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You give us so many great insights. I think one thing is really interesting. And you mentioned that you give students this Snapchat assignment and they were so pumped. They were so excited. And I just want to go a little bit deeper.
Sure.
Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think students, they were so excited about an assignment on Snapchat, which is a tool that they use? So why? What led to that excitement?
Well, you know, because it's something that applies to their real life. I think the problem with education, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, and I'd love to hear the thoughts. Yeah, David says students want to share, just give them a chance. Absolutely. Didar says best future in social media for youth in these days, well improving technology. Absolutely. So I think this is what resonated with me. As a matter of fact, I was with a client this morning. I was talking to a client this morning, and she was asking me about. I do career coaching and life coaching on the side as well. I have a business, a digital business that I run, where I help people with their career. I help people with their mindset. I help people with their storytelling. I was with a client this morning.
Just to interrupt you for a second, maybe you can put the link there after the show is over so everyone can check out the link so we can know more about you. And if you have students who need career coaching or anyone, please make sure to check out Professor Nez. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I would be more than honored to do that. I would be more than honored to do that. Yes, I will definitely do that after the broadcast is finished. So thank you, by the way. And also, so she was asking me, what was the moment where you kind of decided that education, you know, was a real thing to you and that was something that you wanted to do, or who inspired you to go into education? And I was always inspired by the professors. And I got to be honest, it was only a handful. I was always inspired by the professors who showed me how the material applied to the real world. Now, I'm not saying that the classroom is not the real world. I don't want to say that by any means. But let's be honest. I mean, if we're really being honest, most higher institutions, and for that matter, lower institutions, secondary and grammar school and high school, they just don't map to the real world. They just don't relate. The relevancy is so disparate. You know, David, you know, I know you know Dr. Halsmer, and David was on my show, and we both love David. We had a great conversation about this mentality. It's a 400-year-old type of thinking that it's like the dinosaurs are running the asylum. Is like what I like to say. The dinosaurs are running the show, and they don't really see. They're not observant enough. They're not understanding that the reason why these barriers exist in the classroom between teacher, student, professor, pupil, what have you, is because that we're not inviting them in. We're not immersing them with the type of technology, with the cultural environment and ecosystem that they're operating in. We're teaching them from a lens, a perspective that is what we think suits them. Rather than going and reaching them, we're making them come reach us. And it just doesn't work that way. So the type of professors that always reached me and really dug deep into my heart and pulled out my best were the professors who showed me why geometry matters in the real world, why physics is a beautiful dance, why music, humanities, art, culture, critical thinking, philosophy, why these pursuits are the pillars of life, right? They build the foundation for you to build your family, your life, your personal, your professional life. Who are you as a human being? So, that was my impetus. My impetus was, I honestly, you might find this appalling. A lot of professors disagree with me. I don't give a rat's ass about grades. I don't care about grades. I really honestly don't care about grades. I don't care about numerical values. I don't care about little letters on pieces of paper. What I care more about than anything, is when you leave Professor Nez's class, you can apply the stuff we talk about and discuss today, right now, not tomorrow, not 4 years from now, not after you graduate, but today. Otherwise, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Gone. I don't want that. We've all taken classes that went in one ear and out the other and brought zero value to our lives. Oh, I got to take that stupid English class. Oh, I got to take that stupid auto class. Or, oh, I got to take that dumb elective. Or, oh, I got to fulfill this. I don't ever want my class to feel that way. And every professor, there's so many great professors out there. There's so many great teachers out there. And they deserve attention and they should be given autonomy, especially the younger ones who are out there trying to really be relevant. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of a long answer.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I just love everything you mentioned, that you don't even care so much about grading. This is one of the mistakes I made earlier. Like when I just started teaching, I gave students like lots of exams and quizzes. And I noticed something really interesting. And I had students who always scored like 100 on all the exams and quizzes, but in real life, because I teach communication, and this was an interpersonal communication class, and she couldn't communicate in real life. That was such a wake-up call for me, like how come someone can score so perfectly on exams, but in real life couldn't really apply everything that the students were being told. So I definitely agree. But then the next question is, how do you evaluate students? If you
great. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's great. That's wonderful. So how do I evaluate students? There's two criteria. Okay. I evaluate students on two things only, solely. And there's a lot of kind of nuances to this. And there's a lot of sort of, if I may, like in-betweens. And obviously there's scoring and things of that nature. But really it all boils down to this. You show me effort, capital E effort. Show me that you give a rat's ass. Show me that you care about your classmates. Show me that you respect the professor. Show me that you're going to give me attention and contribute. Effort. I want effort. And two, you turn things in on time. I'm a big believer in time management and deadlines. I'm very, very super big on those two things. And I can tell, I've been doing this long enough. My antenna is so sharp. I can tell when people are half-assing it and just going through the motions. Nothing gets past these eyes. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I see everything. I used to be the class clown, so I know all the tricks. This is how beautiful the universe works. This is how beautiful God is. God put the class clown in front of the classroom. Now the class clown is the professor. Hello. I know all the tricks. I know. That's why my students love my classes, because I come at them from a whole different raw energy. Okay. I'm bringing lightning. I'm bringing volcanic lava to my classes, because I can't do it any other way. It's either obnoxious. There's no middle ground with me. Either it's completely obnoxious or you're completely inspired. And I've been lucky enough, to have more people be inspired than completely, they look at it as a rebuke to education. I want them to understand the material. To me, honestly, I treat them like adults. I respect them. This is higher education. I don't even take attendance. Honestly, I don't even take attendance. You want to be in my classroom? Be in my classroom. I'm not going to babysit you. I'm not going to call your mom. Legally, I can't even talk to your mom. You're either 18 or higher in higher education. That's why I don't teach high school. I don't deal with parents, right? Why would I take attendance? Why would I force you to come to my class? It makes zero sense. You're an adult. You should want to be in my class. Well, Professor Nez, you're supposed to take attendance. How else do you know if they're here? How else do you know if they're contributing? How's it? Well, hey, here's how I look at it. If you want to come, come. If you don't come to me at the end of the semester and say, Professor Nez, what happened to my grade? You know what happened to your grade. You didn't show up. So it's really going to hurt you. It has nothing. It doesn't affect me. It affects you. You're paying good money for these classes. I teach at one of the top private schools in Southern California, and then I teach at one of the top business schools, okay, for the state, okay, in Cal State Fullerton and Chapman University. So this is money. You're putting money into this. So you should want to come. You should want to contribute. This is your life. And you know what's really funny, when I eliminate those shackles, here's the funny thing. And I'll talk about page count, word count too, if you want, because I don't do page count or word count either. When I eliminate those shackles, guess what happens? They start showing up in 100-fold. They start showing up to every single class, and it's based on merit. It's not based on a requirement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They come to my class because the material actually resonates. It's actually relevant. It's not just stuck in a book, in a textbook, chapter 13, paragraph 5. Memorize that. We're going to take a test, and then you're going to forget about this tomorrow. No siree, Bob. In my class, you're going to get the real deal schlemiel all the way. And I'm possessed right now. Like, I can't even control myself. Now I'm getting so animated.
Professor Nez amazing?
They're all like, who is this jerk? Get him off of here.
I hope no deans or like higher ed administrators are watching our video. No grades, no exams. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is so encouraging to hear that students are like naturally passionate. They want to come to class, want to learn. I think that's the outcome that we as educators.
I mean, I do get a few who don't like the way I do it. And that's just how it goes. It's like what Seinfeld said. Not everybody's going to like you. You have to accept that. Now, I've been very, very lucky. I'm very, very grateful. I've had students, probably 98.99% of my students absolutely feel that the material resonates, and my course evaluations have reflected that. I've been very, very lucky. I truly believe in what Tony and Gary say all the time. If you give more and more value, if you understand your ideal client and you give more and more value, disproportionate value than what you expect in return, that you will always end up ahead and the ROI will always be there. I believe that vehemently. And plus, in my heart of hearts, honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm too nice to run my business, because if I ever get a customer or a client, I just recently had one. I just recently had a client who was kind of like, can you please give me a little more feedback on this? I wasn't really understanding this. And I felt like I gave that individual utmost value, and I felt like I did. And I was talking to my wife, and she's like, just return her money and get it over with, because there's no way you're going to just keep going back and forth. I said, no, I have to. I said, I'll return her money, but I'm also going to do it for her. It's not about the money. Oh, wow. I really want to just make her feel like, I want her to think I've never had anybody ever give me this kind of service, because I really, really believe in that kind of customer service mentality. The whole thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. I think we've lost that in our society. People are not as kind as maybe they used to be. I could be wrong. I could be presumptuous. I concede, but I believe in I literally want to smother them. I want them to choke on value. I know that sounds terrible.
I'm choked on value.
I'm sorry.
Now.
I mean, I literally want to smother them so much that when they think of Professor Nez, they're going to go, holy shit, that dude is just a rocket. I want them to think that.
I love how much you care about your students. I also love your passion. And one thing you also mentioned, I love, because I teach social media and public relations classes. And one thing I deal with is the disconnect or the gap between what we teach in the classroom and what students need to do after they graduate. So I loved it when you mentioned that your course is to teach students to apply the knowledge they learn right away. So can you please share with us, so what are some things that you do can make your course so applicable to the real life? What are some top practices or examples or tricks? What did you do to shrink that gap between the classroom teaching and the real life application, which is so many people complain about, don't
Yeah.
waste 4 years in college because you are not going to learn anything. Once you graduate, you still don't know much. So
Yes.
what did you do? What did you
So,
do?
so
Share with us.
I, first of all, there's a lot of great professors out there. I commend them. My hat's off to them. I know there's a lot of, and it's such a thankless job, especially if you're an adjunct faculty. If you're not a tenured professor, it's extremely thankless. And you get very little recognition, any recognition at all. I mean, you're considered spit at the bottom of the barrel, really, in education and in the sort of kind of administrative environment, in most campuses, on most campuses. So there's a lot of people doing amazing things. Honestly, I try to bring my current life experiences and work experiences to the classroom. I literally do. Like I'll do case studies of clients that I've worked with. I'll talk about recent articles and recent changes in communication, how I really feel like video is becoming like what we're doing right now, using a third-party video conferencing tool, using Facebook Live, using these platforms is becoming the predominant form of education, observance, paying attention. You know what I really teach to my students? Honestly, the number one thing, you don't even need Professor Nez. You don't need Professor Nez. Everybody out there watching, you don't need Professor Nez at all. I am not the professor you need. The greatest professor is life. Pay attention. I always tell my students, pay attention to life. Pay attention to what's happening around you. Pay attention to the current climate of the times, the zeitgeist that you're ensconced within, that you're living in. What's happening with the human beings, the interactions, the conversations, the different types of, thinking and point of views and perspectives. Just pay attention, listen. We're so bombarded by distraction in the 21st century. We are so bombarded by distraction that it's literally almost impossible to do some self-investigation and to really observe things. Really, all of my strengths have come from just really sitting quietly and observing. I know that sounds bumper stickery. I know that sounds really kind of almost, what are you talking about, Professor? That sounds like a joke. I'm telling you, it's the greatest medicine. It's the greatest antidepressant. Just spend a little time by yourself. Pay attention to things around you, and you will notice things. You will be taught things that you'll never get in a classroom. So I bring my real life experiences. I talk about things that happen with my family. I really try to treat them. I don't put them here. So most of the professors that I had, they put the student down here and professor was up here. So there's this sort of spatial disparity, right? The proximity thing is completely out of whack. I really just try to treat them like human beings. I try to treat them as equals. My classroom, the first thing I say on the very first day is don't think of me as your professor. I am your almighty professor. You must listen to me or else, right? Of course, I have the final say. And of course, I assert myself and I manage the class, right? But I try to say this is a conversation and everybody is invited. I want us to learn. I want to be inspired by them as much as I hope to God they're inspired by me. This is two-way traffic. This isn't a one-way highway. It's two-way traffic. So this energy, I bring a very specific energy and mindset to, on the very first day, I make it very, very clear. This is what you're going to get out of my class. This is what you're going to expect. This is how you're going to do well. And you have nothing to worry about. I don't want any stress. I literally do not want any stress in my classroom. I want zero stress. This is participatory. This is collaborative. We can learn so much from each other. Get to know your fellow classmates. I call them colleagues. I try to treat it like you're not classmates, you're colleagues. We're all on the same level. Just because I have the title professor doesn't mean I know more than you. And this is where I think the educational model is completely, facing a lot of issues and problems. I was going to say defunct, but I don't want to say the whole thing is defunct. But I think a lot of the cracks are sort of created through this mindset that they're over there, students over there, teachers over here. Okay, so the divisiveness is already there. It's already been communicated on the very first day. And no, we don't get personal with our students. No, we don't invite them in. No, we don't get up close and intimate. Why? Has that been working for you? By the way, how's that been working for you? Oh, not so good. Well, then you need to change it up, adapt. You need to change it up. I find they are intelligent, young, beautiful people who want somebody to help them open up. It's actually our obligation. It's our responsibility to get them to open up. Okay. It's an extremely important part of education is how to be a human being. Nobody ever talks about this in the classroom. It makes me crazy. Why don't we talk about how to be a human being? What's it like to be an effective? Okay, I get math, I get science, I get writing, but how can I be an effective human being?
That's absolutely everything you said is amazing. And what role do you think social media or technology plays in terms of bringing students and professors together, creating this, as you mentioned, more participative, this co-creation of a learning experience? So what role or impact does social media technology play in this?
Yeah, I think it plays an important role because it's one of the most predominant forms of interaction, right? I mean, social media, right? I mean, look at the word, define the word social. So we've got media, we've got content, we've got long form, we've got short form, we got video, we got text, we got blogging, we got writing, we got editing, right? We've got the media, then introduce the social aspect of it, social media. So we're in this together. We're supposed to be interacting. We're supposed to be engaging with one another. And this has become the predominant form of communication in the 21st century. And it's just going to get even more, right? So I think actually the gauntlet has been laid out. I think really true, staunch, passionate, vehement professors, and I know you're out there, please let this be a call. I'm putting a call out there to all of you brilliant educators out there who are trying to do something innovative. I know, I see you. I know you're there. The timing is of the essence. Okay, Facebook, these platforms, they're still very, very young. They're still burgeoning, right? Facebook is literally only 10, 11 years old if you really think about it. So it's really this is such a pressing time for really smart, intelligent, experienced individuals to come together and start to integrate, start to communicate, start to lay down manifestos and credos and teachings and practicums related on best practices on how to use this stuff. So for example, what I do with my Nez Nation Live show, I'll interview interesting people doing interesting things. That's sort of the premise. It just so happens I've been interviewing a lot of people in the digital space. People like you. I was on my show. Thank God. I crushed it. On my show. I had David. David's show was just phenomenal. I played David's broadcast. This is how I use social media in the classroom. I played the interview that I did with Dr. Halsmer. Those of you who don't know David Halsmer, maybe he's watching this, maybe he's not. I played the interview, how he talked about workplace disengagement to my business class.
Wow.
And every single student came up to me. I told David this, he flipped out. Every student came up to me and they said, wow, Professor Nez, that was really inspiring conversation. Thank you for doing your show. It's just unbelievable. It's so much more powerful than a textbook. It's so much more powerful than just boring, narcotizing language.
Can you say that again? Say that again.
Yeah, it's so much more exciting. It's so much more relevant than just a textbook. A textbook doesn't cover it all, right? Most textbooks are narcotizing. They put you in a coma, most textbooks. So I played Dr. David Halsmer's interview in my class. He was talking about workplace disengagement. He was talking about intellectual pursuits. He was talking about different forms of communication. My class loved it. And they actually got something out of it. I had a student tell me, I can use this stuff today. He's talking about workplace today. Because think about it. Most textbooks are written past tense, right? Mm-hmm. This is what's so funny. If you're going to teach, and my school does this, and I'm not trying to kind of defame them, but if you're going to write a social media textbook, I hate to break it to you, but it's going to be irrelevant the moment it gets published.
That's right.
It's going to be irrelevant. I mean, it's almost impossible to produce an evergreen textbook when the context is social media, because social media is changing at an ever rapid pace. It's evolving as we speak, as we're conducting this interview. It's literally changing. So you've got to complement. You got those are called supplemental materials for a reason. It's a beautiful adjective, supplemental. So where is the real material? The real material has to come from the current, from the real, from the applicable.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I use my Facebook Live talk show. I use my YouTube videos, all related to contexts in contemporary culture, in contemporary communications, marketing, business, humanities, how to be a human, how to be an effective human. And it seems to be working. And you know what? It's so funny. I don't want to make it sound like I'm this revolutionary professor because because I and David are doing amazing stuff and they're professors too. And there's a lot of professors out there. There's actually a great group that we're a part of that actually I introduced me to, which I was so grateful for, Social Media Professors Facebook group. Maybe we'll put the link in the comments.
Oh, definitely.
I'm blown up. There's so many. I don't want to make it sound like I'm the only one doing this because I know I'm not. There's a lot of great, innovative instructors out there, but too far and few in between. The dinosaurs are running the asylum, as David said, 400-year-old thinking. So I think that you should not be afraid. You should have the guts, have the balls to show them something real. And you know what? I'll tell you this. If your university frowns upon it, I've had universities try to get into my shit too. If they frown upon it, if they give you flack, if they tell you, you're going to get this or that, that's going to tell you something. I think use that as a good litmus test. Try to communicate. And this is to all you adjuncts. I'm thinking about you guys. I might have to do an entire podcast just for adjuncts. I'm thinking about all you guys who your security is so tenuous. It's so brittle, right? Your security, you have nothing, no foundation really. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I don't know. You're a full-time professor, right?
I am. Yes,
so being an adjunct, you're really on brittle ground.
They don't even have an office. They don't have like office hours.
Oh, so underpaid. You would make more money working at Starbucks than you would be in an adjunct. It's so sad. And these people are rearing the future of our planet, and they're given this much compensation. So use that as a litmus test. If they really frown upon your innovation, that's not the place for you. You get out of there. And there's plenty of universities out there. You get out of there. Use that as a litmus test. Communicate. Don't be afraid. Say, look, I'm teaching this stuff because I think it's relevant. I think it applies. I think it's something that these students are really resonating with. I'm getting great responses. Try to work with them. If they don't want to work with you, move on.
I just love everything. You guys, Professor Nez, it's amazing,
right?
Thank
you, Chris.
Give some hearts, give him some likes, and please share. He is dropping tons of knowledge here. I'm just learning and sitting here like, wow. Yeah. I love what
Chris says. Chris says experience is always the best teacher. I could not agree more. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. And I love how you use like Facebook Live interviews, how you use them and share them with the students.
Much like you.
Yes, and you use Snapchat. Are there any, maybe people hearing this, they are an educator, they want to get started, but it seems like so big, social media is just so much. Can you give us people some specific practices which they can apply tomorrow if they were going to teach a class? Some of the best practices that worked so effectively in your personal teaching in terms of shrinking the gap, connecting the students, and teaching them 21st century skills and knowledge. And if you can share with us something specific.
Yeah, I mean, besides the Snapchat assignment that I did for speech, but we also had a project. Hey, we got more people at Chitachi.
Many people. Oh my God, you guys. Mwah!
You guys are awesome. Yeah. So we also did a video project where I had them create a basically a presentation to teach the class something, and they could create a YouTube video.
Wow.
I think here's the key. It doesn't really matter what platform. It doesn't really matter what medium. And speaking of medium, no pun intended, I'm using Medium for my composition course next fall. I'm going to have every student create a Medium account, and all of our assignments are going to be based on online blogs. Instead of them writing your typical sort of, boring essays and boring compositions and non-relevant types of assignments, I'm going to have them write blogs on Medium. And I think that's power. So that relates specifically to my writing course. I think you can find whatever you're teaching. If you're teaching history, if you're teaching science, if you're teaching technology, especially technology or computer programming, especially marketing. If you're teaching a marketing class right now and you're not using social media, I'm going to be the first person to say this. Shame on you. Shame on you. You don't deserve to be in front of that class. I mean, I'll be honest. I can't hold back. You should not be teaching a marketing class if you're not introducing some level, some aspect of digital marketing, especially social media marketing, because it's such a powerful tour de force in communicating your message and amplifying your audience. So, thank you so much, Chris. Yes, using Medium for their writing assignment. So, if I really want to get specific, and best practices is, communicate with your students, but do the research, put in the work, find out, okay, if I'm going to teach political science and I want to teach this in a way that still keeps it fairly relatively civil and respectful, maybe create a private Facebook group, go live in your private Facebook group only for your students in class, make it a safe territory. Use Zoom, use video conferencing. I'm using Zoom for I do virtual business, virtual office hours now, using video conferencing tools. I'm trying to experiment with other video conferencing tools too, because I'm finding that it's a little bit difficult to use certain ones for certain kind of contexts, but there is always a way. There's always a way to use social media and make it relevant for your class, relevant for your curriculum, and relevant for your syllabus and your student learning outcomes, what you need to kind of get across. Just do the research. There's a social media platform for every course, for every genre, for every, department. I really, truly believe that. You got to have the courage. You got to have the courage to do it. And trust me, the students will respond. Everybody and their mother is staring at a screen. Everybody and their mother is staring at a screen. You have nothing to worry about. They will resonate. Use Instagram for a photography course. Use Instagram for what I love, this recent hack that I learned is blogging on Instagram, writing an entire blog on Instagram, a long form text with an accompanied photograph. You could do a writing course entirely on Instagram. If you're doing any kind of, if you're doing any kind of communications, if you're doing any kind of public speaking or interpersonal communication or group presentations, you could use stories, you could use Snapchat, you could use Instagram, you could use Messenger Day. You can use, but it's important to be clear about what your outcomes are. It's important to be clear to the students, let them know ahead of time. Okay. And trust me, if you go all in, the students will respond. I have had such amazing responses from my students. There's always going to be those bad apples that are like, no, I don't want to do that, or this is boring, or no, I don't think this is right. Don't pay attention to that. You're going to get plenty of haters. Don't pay attention to that, okay? You do you, and trust me, this will work.
I love it. I think you should teach a class on using social media as a pedagogical tool, and I will take that class with
you. You're so sweet.
And I love it.
Here's the beautiful thing, and I love the way you said that, because if I taught a course on using social media as a pedagogical tool, and you were in my class, you would feel just as much as the instructor as I would. And I think this goes back to your earlier question. I really try to make an inclusive environment. I want everybody to feel like their 2 cents is worth something. I think the number one comment that I get on my course evaluations, the most common denominator is Professor Nez made this a safe environment for me to express my feelings. To all the instructors out there, as a matter of fact, this goes beyond just higher education. I know people are teaching online courses up the wazoo. I think literally social media is teaching, because what are we doing? We're curating content. We're writing blogs. We're educating. Everybody's an educator now, right? So I think that if you're to really take this to heart, if you really create this inclusive environment, if you really create this way for your students, your customers, your clients, I think it relates to everything. Make them feel that you are not trying to put them beneath you. You will have the most profound, quote unquote, classroom experience. Chris says, what about using Twitter? Look at what Chris says. What about using Twitter as a way to help? Hold on, I need my glasses. I'm getting old. What about using Twitter as a way to help communication students learn how to get to the point of the, oh, I love that. Yes, the 140 characters or less. Conciseness. I actually, okay, that's, you reminded me, Chris, I actually did an assignment like that. You need to come up with a narrative essay, a sort of a narrative essay, but a sort of a kind of narrative statement about yourself in 140 characters or less. So I did actually use that as an assignment too. And the students didn't like it because they were like, no, I want to put more. I want to put more. And I was like, no, this is an exercise in concision. So we're trying to be very
that's
concise.
Exactly what they need to learn, because digital storytelling is so important, but you talk stories very differently on different platforms. You know, you don't say the same thing on Twitter, on Snapchat, on Instagram. So it's a very important skill for our students to learn. And I love that question from Chris. And
yeah, good job, Chris. Good job.
I love Twitter. You know, I
actually do too.
Yeah, I invite my students to join me for Twitter chat. I invite the professionals to host Twitter chat with my class. And we have a class hashtag, use videos and all sorts of things. Yes, it is amazing. It's just social media.
Thank you, Chitachi. Yeah. Thank you, Chitachi. I appreciate your comments. Yes, Chris, I couldn't agree more. Chris says, I'm not an educator, but I'm an I fan, so I'm trying to help her. Chris, you're awesome. How about everybody put some emojis in the comments? Give me some thumbs up for I. Give me some thumbs up for I. Isn't she amazing? Her enthusiasm, I mean, her smile could literally light up the, I mean, if let's say the sun burnt out. If the sun burnt out, look, I'm going to embarrass I. If the sun decided to get eaten by a black hole, I don't know if you can decide to do that, but if the sun somehow just evaporated, all we would need to do is put I's smile in the sky. We would have light. I mean, don't you think so?
Oh, you're too kind. I need you, both of us.
Your smile is the most glorious smile I think I've ever seen. And don't tell my wife, because she'll kill me if I said that to you.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much, Professor Nez. Yeah. And just keep our, just in the interest of time. We talked almost like, So I have so much questions I want to ask and discuss, but I try to just like, focus. Sure.
I'm sorry. I know I ramble. Sorry.
No, I loved it. There's so much I want to chat with you. You know, I have so many questions I want to ask. And one thing I hear a lot is like, did you encounter this like, you know, our students, and we call them like digital natives. And did you realize that students, like when you ask them to do, to use social media for businesses and professional purposes, students, they actually feel it is quite challenging for them to use social media in the business manner that is different from how they used to use social media in their personal. Did you encounter that?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, with a lot of my clients, I experienced that. But yeah, I mean, I think having my students think of like Instagram for business, it's at first it's a little bit like, whoa, but you know, most of my students are 18 to 25. You know, I do teach a few adult education. And here's the thing. I mean, they're not, even though things are changing and Gen Y or whatever you want to call them, millennials, Gen Z, what have you, it seems like it changes every week how we classify them. They want, and I felt like this too, I don't think this is a generational thing. I remember feeling like this in my 20s. They want purpose. They want fulfillment. Mm-hmm. They want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like they belong to something. They're still searching for an identity. So if you come at them right away with business, schmizness, I think you're going to rub them the wrong way. I don't think that they're going to. It's, you know, this is has a lot to do with delivery. You got to deliver it in a way that, you know, and there's a lot of people out there that are really, I mean, Tony Robbins, people like that are really good at delivering, right? Mm-hmm. I like to think of myself as somebody who's really effective at delivering. Mm-hmm. But
you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But you know, yeah, but I try to be really real with them, and I try to tell them that, like, you have an opportunity with this dude right here. You have an opportunity. I mean, I coach my clients using, this is my studio office in my home. You know, it was my daughter's bedroom turned into a studio office. I've got lighting and I've got a microphone. I've got my camera. you have the opportunity. I really, truly believe it. You hear this in the digital landscape. This is the greatest era of all time. You have an ability, you have more of an ability to create your own job than to go apply for a job.
Exactly.
And the reason when I deliver it that way, and this is sort of quells their anxiety about, he's talking about business. I don't care about business. I want to like meet a boyfriend and I want to go party. I mean, really, you got to, this really has to do with the psychology of your customer, right? And whether you like it or not, professors, instructors, educators out there, your students are your customers. They're paying customers.
Absolutely.
They're paying for what knowledge you bestow upon them, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to understand the psychology of your customer. They're not thinking about business. They're not thinking about money. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them are. But for the majority, they want to look good. They want to be liked. They want to go to the hottest party. They want to feel sexy, attractive. They want to feel wanted, desired, and with the in crowd, the right crowd, what have you. Different kind of mindset. You got to understand that psychology of it. So if you say like, yes, social media for business, it is a very, very great thing, you're going to lose them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you say to them, hey, come here. I have a really hot tip for you. Instead of applying for a job at Carl's Jr., instead of applying for a summer internship, instead of, filling out all these millions of online forms and stuff like that, why don't you go out there? You have time to discover yourself. Why don't you go out there and discover what it is that makes this thing go like this? Not like this, safe. What makes this thing go like this? What makes your heart patter, right? And then try to create a job around that. Because I truly believe, you hear some people say, who cares if you love your job? You don't need to love your job. I think that's a bunch of bull crap. I think if you really love what you're doing, it won't feel like work. Now, I work 24/7. I work 24/7. I mean, I really, truly feel that way. And I'm still working on work-life balance. I have no idea what the hell that means. But it doesn't, but here's the thing. When I stay up till 2 a.m. editing a YouTube video, when I stay up till 3 a.m. writing a blog post, it doesn't feel like work because it makes this thing go like this. It doesn't feel like work. If you find something that doesn't make you feel like you're working, because we know what it feels like. Oh God, I got to work. I hate work. I don't want to work. Well, if you find something that doesn't feel like work and you monetize that, you have won, my friend. So I try to tell my students that kind of mindset is like, okay, I'm going to school to get a career, to get a job. Because it actually relates to the psychology of their mindset. They want purpose. They want fulfillment. Mm-hmm. So what if you communicate it to them that not only will this be something that you create and innovate, but it's something that gives you that sense of peace on the internal and gives you that sense of purpose. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I apologize.
No, you are not. I'm just like nodding. I love everything you mentioned and creating this is what I told my 5-year-old boy. I told him, when you grow up, don't focusing on applying to a job, but create an impact that creates jobs for other people. I just love everything you mentioned. And so we discussed a lot about social media, digital landscape. So if you can create this idealistic version of a professor, what do you think this professor needs to embody? What are some of the core characteristics or traits or skills that this professor needs to embody to make this person so rocket?
Oh my God, this is what a great question. What a perfect question. And definitely they need to basically be exactly like me. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. I'm completely kidding. I love this question, by the way. This is a fantastic question. I'm totally kidding, by the way. I think one of the cornerstones of being an effective educator is you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to communicate in a compelling fashion. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're monotone. Okay, today class we're going to talk about the binary. Everybody's gone. They're asleep. You have to. So the only way that I think that fuels that communicative skill is if you're going into education because you think it's security or it's a backup, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. But if you really actually, I mean, my father was an educator. My grandfather was superintendent of his school in his own country. He was an educator. It's in my blood. I was born to do this. This is what gets my blood singing and tap dancing in my veins. There's nothing I love doing this more than getting up in front of people, getting into an interview, meeting amazing people like Ai Zhang and talking about things that I love. I could do this till the sun comes up. This is my gig. Now, you get me in front of a transmission, you get me, trying to paint a fence, or you get me, crunching numbers, I'm done. I'm terrible at that. I mean, forget about it. You might as well put me in a coma. I'm done. I can't do it. I don't have any skill. I'm the least handiest person you've ever met. Trust me. My wife gets frustrated all the time. Can't you fix this? Can't you fix that? That's just, sorry. I'm a keyboard dad.
Google. You can find it.
I could Google YouTube. How to YouTube. So here's the key cornerstone: is you have to be communicative, you have to care, and you must not teach from the book. Throw that textbook. If you're one of these professors that, I've seen this all the time, you're just reading from a book. Okay, today we're going to cover chapter 1. Timothy, read chapter 1. And it's just reading, and you're not talking, you're not speaking to your class. You don't deserve to be in front of the class. You need to know everything. You need to know everything that you're going to teach. I'm not saying don't refer to things. You can refer to the textbook. You can refer to your PowerPoint, but don't use it as a crutch. I see too many instructors who are unqualified, or they don't audit themselves enough to understand that this is not something that, I should be doing, because why is my entire class asleep? Or why are they all giving me looks like they want to stab me in the face? Because you're not engaging with them. You're reading to them. You're not talking with them. You're not speaking to them. You're reading to them. That's just not how it works. I tell my public speaking students all the time, don't use your visual aid as a crutch. Your visual aid should complement your voice, not substitute it. It shouldn't substitute your voice. It should complement. All your supplemental materials should complement your teaching style, not substitute your teaching style. So you need to engage with them. You need to know what you're talking about. If you're teaching accounting, you need to know everything about accounting, at least enough to where you don't have to just rely on a book, or rely on a curriculum, or rely on a template syllabus, or rely on a PowerPoint. You can go out there in the sea of faces and immerse yourself and engage. I don't need a textbook for any of my classes. It's all in here. More importantly, it's all in here. Everything I'm going to talk, when it talks about rhetoric, author, purpose, ethos, pathos, logos, Aristotle's trifecta, argumentation, composition, knowing your audience, understanding specifics, show, don't tell, evidence, I can spout that off. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been studying, mastering my craft my entire life. Teach that and you'll win.
So basically, everyone just need to be like you. I totally agree.
No, I take that back. Please, please don't.
I know you're.
No, don't be like me. If you're like me, you'll probably get fired. No, I would say just go out there and when you're in the class, communicate with them, engage with them. It's the same thing in life and business, right? Value.
I love
Overvalue.
Yeah.
I mean, smother them in the blanket of value, to use a metaphor.
Yes,
smother them with a blanket of value, and they will respond. And plus your credibility goes up the roof. Your ethos goes up the roof. Because I've seen professors, they just literally read from a book, and I go, I'm paying $1,500. I'm paying $600 a unit for this. I could have gone to the library and checked that book out. I want you to teach me something. Teach me something.
That's right. Yeah. So we have about 2 minutes left. One parting piece of advice for professors who are still kind of on the edge about social media, technology, have that internal fear. One parting piece of advice for them.
Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear. Okay. I know there's a lot of people who are using social media in dysfunctional ways. You be the difference. You be the change you want to see in the world. To use a quote that I use from Gandhi. I use that quote in class. You be the change you want to see in the world. Don't be afraid of technology. I'm not a technical person. And I can use all this shit. So can you. So just research it, innovate, take chances. Don't worry. It will work out. More importantly, think about your students. Don't think about you.
I love it. Love it. And thank you so much. And now it's our turn to help you. So tell us a project that you are really excited about and that you are working right now. And how can we help you, given that you give us so much value? You want to share, or like, how can we help you make your project even more amazing?
I'm focusing really hard on trying to grow my YouTube channel. I'm really loving video creation. I'm putting all my live stream shows. I'm really loving my Nez Nation live show. I've taken a little bit of a break. I haven't interviewed somebody for a couple weeks now. I've been kind of spending a little bit more time with my family. There's that work-life balance. But, go like my Facebook page, Professor Nez. It would mean the world to me. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean the world to me. I'm hosting a podcast with 2 other brilliant entrepreneurs called The Digital Entrepreneur Show. It's on iTunes. Go please write us a review. Just type in The Digital Entrepreneur Show. You'll see my face. You'll see my co-host's face, Steve Gamlin and Tim Knox. I'm really excited. We've been really, really working hard to bring a different type of blend of value to the digital kind of entrepreneurial space. And it's just been awesome and a lot of fun. So if you want to stay abreast of all that, you can like my Facebook page, Professor Nez, and you can like my or subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would mean, and I'll leave that in the comments. That would mean the world to me. And you'll always be on the up and up on what I'm doing and what's happening, and that would be great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for such an amazing interview and everything. I learned so much from you. And I'm going to do a recap, a blog recap of everything that Professor Nez shared with us. So if you joined the show late, no worries. You can check out the recap. And I believe Professor Nez is going to make a YouTube video and put this on his booming and emerging, amazing, developing YouTube channel. And he's also going to share everything with us.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, and thank you, the audience. Without you, we are not going to be here.
Yes, so that's the most important. Thank you, Chitachi, Chris, everybody.
From my heart. And
thank you, Chris. Awesome.
Oh, Chris is the best. Everyone here, and thank you so much. It's the best. I truly
Thank you,
appreciate
Chris. You're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we have so many people join us. It's so late for my friends in the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for joining from the East Coast. I know it's like midnight over there, so thank you.
Like,
11.
That shows how much they love you, Professor Nez.
You're so sweet. Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes. And thank you again. And check out our next week for another episode. I have a really amazing professor coming up. And stay tuned. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.